वीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांतो राधा कांतो नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। प्लीज रिपीट हरे कृष्णा
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
कृष्णा
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
हरे
Hare Hare
हरे
Hare
राम
Rama Rama Hare Hare
once more हरे
Hare
कृष्णा
Krishna
हरे
Hare Krishna Krishna
कृष्णा
Krishna
हरे
Hare Hare
हरे हरे राम
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, very warm welcome to all of you. So we are covering the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called Karma Yoga. So I think we have to start the 32nd verse. And last time we read the 30th verse. So 30th verse is very important verse because this is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So does anybody remember what does 30th verse say, or anything from the class we had last time? मयि सर्वाणि कर्माणि सन्न्यस्याध्यात्मचेतसा निराशिर्निर्ममो भूत्वा यद्वस्व विगतच्च. So these are the techniques of Karma Yoga. Basically, first thing Krishna is saying that you should surrender all your works unto me. That is one component. And the next component is you should be in full knowledge of me. Basically, you should know who is Krishna. Krishna is residing in our heart. Krishna has a Sachidanand Vigraha form. So by meditating on that form, by meditating on Krishna in our heart, then we surrender all our works unto me. And the rest of the components are that we should be without any proprietorship. We should not think that this result belongs to me. For example, if some salary comes, then that salary belongs to me. I'll use it for my own sense gratification. I'll go to movies and I'll go to picnic. But actually, that everything which is there belongs to Krishna. So that nirmamo thing should come. Nirmamo means without any proprietorship. So, for example, Krishna has given us so many things for our fulfilling our daily needs. House is there, parents are there, and car is there, salary is there. But everything actually Krishna has given. So actually, it belongs to Krishna. So that is nirmamo. That we are not having any proprietorship feeling for those things. And the next component is nirashir. That we are not seeking any profit. So, for example, generally we do some project or some work, so in order to have some higher outcome, right? So outcome should be good, then only I will do that service. So that is actually expectation. Even Arjuna is saying in the battlefield in the first chapter we read, right? Nimittani vipritani, because Arjuna is saying that I will not be able to enjoy the kingdom with my relatives if I kill those relatives in the battlefield. So it means that Arjuna has this expectation of enjoying with them after the battle. So we also have some expectation. Whenever we do some work, we think that some outcome will come and that outcome should be good. Then only we'll do the work. Otherwise, there is no incentive to do that work. But actually, Krishna is saying that real Karma Yoga is when you are acting just for pleasure of Krishna, unto surrendering unto Krishna all your works. And the results also, like we are not thinking that it should come good. We should think, obviously we should try to do the service very nicely, but results are ultimately sanctioned by Krishna. So we accept whatever Krishna gives. So our department is service department and the results department is Krishna department. So whatever good or bad comes in the results, we accept as the prasadam of Krishna. So that was the that so these were the three components, that surrendering all our works and without any desire for profit and without any desire for proprietorship. And the fourth component is vigata jvara, without any lethargy. Jvara. So generally we are very Like we have a lot of laziness, a lot of procrastination is there. But Vigata Jvara means free from all feverish mentality, free from all lethargy. So that is Vigata Jvara. But generally, in our case, we are Jvara. Like we are very lazy about what we are doing. Okay, it is not interesting. It is not motivating me. So I will give more time. I will procrastinate. But actually, Krishna consciousness means immediately we should do the service. Kim kara. So a devotee is Kim Kara. So there are two levels of Karma Yoga. One, first is Karmarpanam, where we are just offering the results of the work. And the second is Kim Kara. Kim Kara means I have done this, now what to do next. So devotee is like that. A small service is given, he immediately completes it and then asks for another service. That is Kim Kara. There is no lethargy, there is no second thoughts, there is no. So you know, right? Does anybody know that Yudhishthir Maharaj story in Mahabharat, that when did he have second thoughts on Krishna's instruction? Yeah. In Mahabharat, anybody? So there are a couple of instances where Krishna used trickery, right, to bring out Pandavas as the uh, winner, because Pandavas' army was not so strong as Kauravas. So Krishna had to do some trickery. So one trick point was that when Yudhishthir Maharaj actually hesitated to follow the instruction of Krishna. Nobody knows?
When
No,
he said
yeah.
Thama mara gaya, Vashwatthama Hathi, he said
Yes, yes, yes.
very slow mode.
Correct. Ashwatthama, हाथी मारा गया बोलना था ना, राइट? हाँ, हिमांशु, यस, व्हाट इज इट?
हाँ, नहीं मतलब आई वाज नॉट अवेयर ऑफ दिस, बट हाँ ये हाथी मारा गया वाला अश्वत्थामा वाला स्टोरी आई रिमेम्बर। आई थिंक एक दो इंस्टेंसेस और थे।
हाँ, एक में basically one more instance was when Krishna instructed Arjuna to kill Karna after the evening
हाँ,
sunset.
दान के बाद ना, कवच और उसके दान के बाद।
करेक्ट। तो एक्चुअली इनके पीछे बहुत बड़े बड़े स्पिरिचुअल रीजन है जिसकी वजह से कृष्णा ने बोला था। मतलब इन केस ऑफ कर्णा द रीजन वाज दैट कर्णा while when Draupadi's Chirharan was happening, Karna actually started laughing, and Karna was a very pious soul. He was actually a devotee, but due to bad association of Duryodhana, he got polluted, and he somehow he mocked at Draupadi at that time when Dushasan was trying to disrobe Draupadi. So that incurred a lot of sinful reaction, and in order to purify Karna from that sinful reaction, Krishna told Arjuna to kill Karna after the sunset, because Karna was so strong it was not conceivable to kill him during the war. So that's why, like by killing Karna, Arjuna could purify Karna from that sinful reaction, and Karna could go back to godhead actually.
बट जस्ट वन क्वेश्चन, सनसेट के बाद बात तो युद्ध खत्म हो जाता था ना उस टाइम पे?
हाँ, मतलब खत्म हो जाता था, लेकिन इन दैट केस मतलब कृष्णा ने कुछ ट्रिक प्ले किया था कि क्लाउड से कवर हो गया था सन,
ओके
एक्चुअल
ओके।
सनसेट नहीं हुआ था। तो मतलब दो तीन ट्रिक्स थी, मतलब मुझे डिटेल में नहीं पता, लेकिन बेसिकली उनका चक्का भी वो जाम हो जाता है कर्ण का, तो वो चक्के को बाहर निकालने के लिए निकलते हैं शायद, और फिर देन कृष्णा टेल्स अर्जुना नाउ इज द राइट टाइम टू शूट द एरो एट कर्ण। तो उस टाइम अर्जुन शूट कर देते हैं और कर्ण की डेथ हो जाती है।
And at that time, sun also comes out.
हाँ, एट दैट टाइम तो वो क्लाउड से, मतलब
Which is
क्लाउड हट जाता
yes. And one instance is when they had to Bhim had to kill Duryodhan, uh, mm,
है।
hitting below the waist.
हम्म।
That was not allowed in this in the at those times in the battle. Hitting below the waist.
यस, करेक्ट। तो हाँ, मतलब मैं इस कंटेक्स्ट में कह रहा था कि ये जैसे मम्मी ने हिना माता जी ने बताया कि युधिष्ठिर महाराज को बोला कृष्णा ने कि तुम अनाउंस कर दो कि अश्वत्थामा हाथी मारा गया। ठीक है, तो वहां पे एक हाथी भी था जिसका नाम अश्वत्थामा था, और अश्वत्थामा अलग से एक वो भी था, वॉरियर भी था, जो पुत्र था धृष्टद्युम्न का,
द्रोणाचार्य का बेटे थे ना?
द्रोणाचार्य का। और आई थिंक महाभारत में तुम लोगों की ज्यादा एक्सपर्टीज होगी. ऐसा कहा जाता है कि महाभारत इज मेंट फॉर कलयुगा पीपल बिकॉज इट अराइजेस द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ पीपल कि हो क्या रहा है, इतनी कॉम्प्लिकेटेड चीजें हो रही हैं और कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है. तो वो that is written to arise the interest of Kali Yuga people so that they have they arise that eagerness to understand who is Krishna. मतलब why is Krishna doing like this? तो वहां से हमारा उद्धार होना शुरू होता है एक्चुअली. तो मैं यही हाईलाइट कर रहा था कि डिवोटी इज किम करा, मतलब डिवोटी डजंट थिंक ट्वाइस बिफोर एग्जीक्यूटिंग द इंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ कृष्णा. और व्हेन कृष्णा सेड कि अश्वत्थामा हाथी मारा गया, तुम बोलो ये धर्मराज युधिष्ठिर, देन युधिष्ठिर सेड, मतलब देयर वाज अ डाउट इन हिज माइंड कि इज दिस अ ट्रुथ और इज दिस नॉट. So at that point when he hesitated in following the instruction of Krishna, his chariot came down. Actually, throughout the battle, his chariot was always 2 inches up from the ground. But when he hesitated, when he had this doubt on Krishna's instruction, his chariot came down. तो बेसिकली वो किमकरा वाली पोजीशन से में ये जो डाउट था ये बीच में अड़ गया, और इससे मतलब उनका युधिष्ठिर महाराज का एक तरह से डिग्रेडेशन हो गया. So devotee is never doubtful. Devotee is always sure that his spiritual master, his guru, his mentor, they are guiding the best and their guidelines are the correct. So they are not having second thoughts whenever somebody tells, somebody guides or somebody tells anything. So that is the quality of a Kimkara devotee. That immediately he does the service and immediately he comes to the authorities and asks for the next service. So for example, now our teacher training course is finished. Now we will do Bhakti Shastri. So before that, our own Bhakti Shastri was going on. Now we will teach Bhakti Shastri. So like this, services should go on. Our mind should be engaged in some service, because if our mind is engaged in positive things, then it will not trouble us so much. Otherwise, there is so much negative energy in this world, right? So it is important to engage our mind in the positive energy, positive services of Krishna. इहायस्य हरेर्दास्य कर्मणा मनसा गिरा निखिलस्वपि अवस्थासु जीवन मुक्त स उच्यते. So when we engage our karmana, manasa and gira, our activities, our mind and our gira is the body, in the service of Krishna, then even in this material world we are liberated. We are acting on this spiritual platform. So services are very important, engaging our mind in the services of Krishna. That's why we will start this from next Sunday. Okay, let's continue for the to the 31st verse. ये मे मतमिदं नित्यम् अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवाः श्रद्धावान् तु अनुसूयन्तो मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. So every activity, every action which we do has some reaction because it is not totally Krishna conscious. But if we are able to follow the teachings of 30th verse, then there are no bondage, there is no reaction in our activities. So yeah, we will learn in the 4th chapter that which type of activity is binding and which type of activity is liberating. But generally, if our consciousness is to please Krishna, then that activity becomes liberating. And if our consciousness is to please our senses, our own sense gratification, then that becomes a bonding activity. That activity has a sinful reaction. Yeah, so there is one verse also, right? Atma Indriya Pritir, Tare Bole Kam, and Krishna Indriya Pritir, Tare Prem Nam. So basically, when we act for our own sense gratification, that is lust. And when we act for Krishna's sense gratification, when we try to satisfy Krishna's senses, then that is Tare Prem Nam. So that brings love for Krishna. Yeah. So anybody wants to read purport to the 31st verse? Yeah, go ahead, Bal.
The injection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the essence of the all Vedic wisdom and therefore is eternally true without exception. As the Vedas are eternal, so this truth of Krishna consciousness is also eternal. One should have firm faith in this injunction without envying the Lord. There are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad Gita but have no faith in Krishna. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action. But an ordinary man with firm faith in the eternal injunction of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunction of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consider of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So this is also very important words. So I think I don't know how much all of you know, but devotional service requires some discipline, some spiritual practices, and I know that everybody is at his own level. So sometimes we might not be able to follow everything. For example, four regulative principles, we might not be able to follow very deeply and to all the to the highest extent, right? So, for example, yeah. So basically. So when we are not able to follow very nicely, when our mind is troubling, then we should not become envious of the Lord, because we should not become envious of the senior devotees. Actually, we should accept their senior position, and we should accept our degradation or degraded position also. So that is called a non-envious behavior. But if we become envious, we start thinking, okay, why should we surrender to Krishna? We are also so great. Krishna is not so great. Why Krishna should be considered greatest? Why should we follow the guidance of the mentor of spiritual master? It doesn't look like he is so great. So that is envy actually. But if we always accept their higher position, and if we accept our degraded position and try to follow, and in course of trying to follow also, we sometimes fall down, and we sometimes have some other degraded situation, then also that is fine. You can come to the level of Krishna consciousness someday. But being envious is not an option. Like, you should not envy the authorities, you should not envy Krishna. But by default, in our heart, there is envy for Krishna. That's why we are in this material world. Actually, enviousness is what splits us apart from the spiritual world. So by default, we are envious, but we should not act on envy. We should act on faith, because enviousness and faith are two like parallel lines. If you are acting on faith that this situation has been arranged by Krishna, and this is my level of Krishna consciousness, so then you will accept that situation. Okay, I'm here, my mind is troubling, I'm trying to do this service, so I just have to complete this service. This is my goal, to please Krishna. And Krishna is a like higher authority, and Krishna wants us to come to him. So that is faith. But enviousness is something else. Suppose some other devotee is performing very nicely and you are becoming jealous of him. Okay, he is doing so much, I'm not able to do anything. Then you become envious. You are not happy with his progress. But in spiritual world, actually, a person becomes more happy if a person is advancing in spirituality. All the devotees become happy. Oh, this person is advancing so much. If I become happy, I glorify him. Maybe I also get some credit for his advancement. So like this, they are always happy when somebody is advancing in spiritual life. So this is the contrast between the material world and spiritual world. For example, in the spiritual world, a Madhyamadikari devotee, he is like, there are three levels of devotees, right? There are junior devotees, there are peer devotees, and there are senior devotees. So in the material world, how do you how do you behave with your juniors? Anybody?
Like in a more forgiving manner, and accept that they will make mistakes, but we have to be patient. We have to make them learn, like we are responsible for their growth.
Yeah,
And
that is the spiritual world actually. So in the material world, we try to exploit them, right?
yeah.
So yeah, so for example, our manager is there, and we have 3 years less experience. So manager would like to extract maximum amount of work on minimum amount of salary. So that is the principle. In the material world, we exploit our juniors, but in the spiritual world, we try to be compassionate on them, and we try to be patient with them, and accommodating all their mistakes, all their weaknesses, as you told. Thank you. And what about peers? How do we deal with the peers in the material world and spiritual world? Those who are with our colleagues, our equals.
um Spiritual world, like the peers should be treated as Vaishnavas. I mean, We all have a lot to learn from each other, and I mean, the very acceptance that they might be elevated, and whatever we can learn from them, like that should be the spirit. And there should be humble attitude, and I think knowledge sharing sessions should be common, like so that whatever I know, they should know, and whatever problems I am facing, then they might be facing, and they might have already resolved it, something like
Yeah.
that. Like सबको उठा के एक साथ चलना, like
Yeah.
that should be the spirit and the material in the spiritual realm. Material world में तो हर मतलब like it's like a dog eat dog world. Like no one is happy with the progress of their neighbors. So like
They want to compete with each other and they want to pull down each other. So
yeah.
peers are actually, they are trying to pull down each other.
And
And
most of the decisions and most of the connections are solely based on either money. They revolve either around money or people. They are
or
not
money
revolve
or
like Krishna is not at the center.
yes, yes. Money and women actually. So yeah. So Prabhupada writes that those who are associating with people who are too much attached to money and women, that is also not recommended for devotees. So so yeah, so as you told that in the spiritual world, among the peers, we have a good friendly relationship, Vaishnava relationship, and we have a lot of respect for each other's assimilation, each other's devotion, which is there in the heart. So like that, we respect each other, and we make good friendship. So Madhyama Adhikaris, if they make good friendship, they can achieve a lot of things in devotional service. They can do a lot of big projects. But if we compete or if we pull down each other, competition is also two types. There is spiritual competition, and in spiritual world also there is competition going on between different gopis who wants to serve more in more Krishna, Radha and Krishna, who wants to facilitate more Leela of Radha and Krishna. But actually, that is a healthy competition because Krishna is in the center. As you said, ki, if Krishna is in the center, then everything becomes like easy to understand, and everything like even friendship is also easier. Yeah, so very well said. And how about the seniors? What is the difference in material and spiritual?
Uh, for seniors, like there has like the attitude of like guru shishya parampara should be followed, I think, and from wherever you are getting mentorship, you should directly or indirectly treat him as someone very senior, or like as give a position of a guru, because you are getting something from him or her, right? um,
Yeah, yeah, yes. So
and
we respect him. If he's a senior, we respect him and we serve him nicely so that he can give the knowledge whatever he has in his heart, and we can receive that knowledge nicely in our hearts. But in the material world, we generally envy. We think that okay, our manager is so technically qualified, but he's earning 5 crores. Why am I earning 5 lakhs? He's earning 5 crores. So that envy factor is there. But in the spiritual world, it's more on the spiritual platform where we respect and serve, and we receive the good qualities by that. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll go to the next verse. ये ये त्व एतदभ्यसूयन्तो नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतं सर्वज्ञानविमूढां स्तान् विद्धि नष्टान् चेतसः. But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled and ruined in their endeavors for perfection. So this is also very important. We should not disregard any teaching. So this, yeah, last time also I recommended that you should learn this 30th verse and daily you can read the purport of this verse. It will help you immensely in your daily activities. So if you can try to apply these teaching throughout your life, then one day you will become Krishna conscious. And one who disregards these teachings, it's very difficult to assimilate any knowledge for him. So knowledge means like when you apply Krishna conscious principles, then you come to the soul platform, actually, spiritual platform, and you elevate from the bodily conception. So the purport I'll read. The flaw of not being Krishna conscious is clearly stated herein, as there is punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Executive Head. So there is certainly punishment for disobedience to the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A disobedient person, however great he may be, is ignorant of his own self and of the Supreme Brahman, Paramatma, and the personality of Godhead due to a vacant heart. Therefore, there is no hope of perfection of life for him. Yeah. So these are very deep principles actually. And that's why we are recommended to read Shastra, because then we will know that what Krishna wants, how to follow the instructions of Krishna, and we should be obedient in that following. Then only we will come to spiritual realization. Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Okay, next verse. Sadrisham chestate swasya prakritirjnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? So this is also very important words. Okay. So I've been practicing for last 11 years, and like my learning is also like that. Ki sometimes we start expecting from people that he should chant 4 rounds, 8 rounds, 16 rounds, but actually everybody is acting according to his own modes of nature, and I am also on the same path. Like according to my own modes of nature, I am acting. For example, I am a good architect, then I will design things. I will do mode of passion activities like Lord Brahma. So nothing can stop me. I can continue by Krishna conscious spiritual activities, but those modes of nature we cannot repress. Those we should continue, and then we should employ the results of those activities in Krishna service. For example, all of you, like, do you have some services? Okay, Vidushi is doing software development. Imanshu is also working in a banking company. Bharti Mata is caring for her children and maintaining her family. So all these services are there. So we cannot leave anything. We should continue doing those, and we should just add Krishna in those activities. Okay. Purport. Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, he cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature, as it is confirmed by the Lord in the seventh chapter. Therefore, even for the most highly educated person on the mundane plane, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya simply by theoretical knowledge or by separating the soul from the body. There are many so called spiritualists who outwardly pose as advanced in the science but inwardly or privately are completely under particular modes of nature which they are unable to surpass. Academically, one may be very learned, but because of his long association with material nature, he is in bondage. Krishna consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement, even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties in terms of material existence. Therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duties. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. It is better to be situated in one's position and to try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. तो वही जो मैंने बोला, प्रभुपाद परपोर्ट में भी ये लिख रहे हैं कि we should never leave our occupational duty, but we should try to get training from senior devotees so that we can do those occupational duty in a Krishna conscious way. Okay, we'll go to the next verse. So actually, this is important now. Now the section will come where Arjuna will ask the question that what is the cause of lust, and then Krishna will explain that what are the sitting places of lust. So this section of this chapter is very important. So try to be present in next session also. इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषो व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवशमागच्छेत् तौ हि यस्य परिपन्थिनौ. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. तो ये अटैचमेंट एंड एवर्जन, ये हमारे लिटमस टेस्ट हैं कि हम कितना कंडीशनड हैं. तो ये विदुषी, वुड यू लाइक टू रीड 34th verse purport?
Can you please share the screen?
Okay. You don't have Bhagavad Gita?
I have, but I usually do not read. Like I read it in the early morning only, like after taking shower and all.
अच्छा. Okay.
Those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification, but those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement, but one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage rights. According to scriptural injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationships with any woman other than one's wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunctions, a man will a man is still inclined to have sex relationships with other women. These propensities are to be curbed, otherwise, they will be stumbling blocks on the path of self realization. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray, as much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads. Although they may be carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time, owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, an attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must be avoided by all means. But attachment to Krishna consciousness or acting always in the loving service of Krishna detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of the detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so would you like to share your understanding of this purport? Or I understand.
Yeah. I mean, I think all it is saying about is there are some guidelines which have to be followed, and if not followed, there will be always uh, relegate. I mean, there will be always uh, some.
Chance of
What
fall down,
is,
basically. Yeah.
yes, and but it also mentions that although there are some regulations on such kinds of attachments, but Krishna attachment or the sense of attachment towards Krishna should at all the stages should
Yeah.
be followed, and it is separate from the other kinds of attachment that a man or woman can have towards the other sex, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the material attachments has to be spiritualized by attachment to spiritual things.
Hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. So there is one verse in Nectar of Devotion, right? Anasaktasya vishyan yatharam upayunjita nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchyate. So we should never give up anything which can be used in Krishna's service. So that's what they are saying, that we should never try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. ऐसा कहते हैं कि we should never, we cannot give up our neighbor's Mercedes car, right? So anything which doesn't belong to us, we cannot give up. So that's why Krishna belongs to us actually, and everything which has been given to us belongs to Krishna. So we should never give up those things. We should actually engage them in Krishna's service. And regulation is important. So as long as we have this material body, the urges will continue, right? There will be urge to engage in all the bodily activities. We need some sense gratification, we need some relationships, but everything should be regulated. Everything should be under the guidance of Vedic injunctions. For example, here Prabhupada is saying that like there is a quotation by Chanakya Pandit, right? Matrivat paradareshu loshtavat paradrivyani atmavat sarva bhuteshu yah karoti sa pandita. So we should treat every other female as our mother, and we should treat the money of the other person as dust, loshtavat paradravyani. And Atmavat Sarva Bhuteshu. We should treat the other person as we want us to be treated. So one who execute these three things, he can be called a Pandita. So like that, only with our wife we should engage in those physical relationships, and that too also under the regulation of Vedic injunctions, and that will help us to elevate us towards Krishna consciousness. But one more thing is, like, we should not be attached to these rules and regulations. For example, if we are offering bhoga, so we will get prasadam from Krishna, so we can enjoy that prasadam. Like, you can cook nice rasgullas, nice halwa, nice chole puri, and then do a very nice feast, and then you can enjoy also that. But suppose if, like, it's not like every day you are cooking feast. Okay, I will offer such a nice feast to Krishna, and then I will enjoy. So daily I am cooking a very large feast, and I'm doing a lot of sense gratification in the name of that feast. So, for of course, some fall down will happen if that happens. So, but instead of that, you should just once a week you cook a feast, and you invite one or two guests also, and you serve them also, and then you can also enjoy whatever is prepared in that once a week. So in that way, Krishna will be prioritized. Krishna consciousness will be prioritized instead of the enjoyment which we get from the prasadam of Krishna. So like this, we should not be attached to the sense gratification which is coming out of that regulation. We should be attached to Krishna and his devotees. That higher nectar should be there in the spiritual activities. Then we will be able to transcend all the obstacles on the spiritual life. Okay, I'll read. Any questions on this? This is an interesting topic, actually. And this sentence Prabhupada will use again and again, that one has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray, as much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads. So when you are moving very fast in the devotional line, like in the on the highways, there will be some highway robbers also. So don't be attached to the regulations. You just do the regulations and try to attach to Krishna and his devotees. Try to attach to Bhagavad Gita, attach to the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. So try to develop a taste for these things. Try to share realizations with other devotees, and try to make relationships with senior devotees, loving exchanges. Then when you get attached, when you feel that affection, love and affection in those loving dealings, then you are cultivating a higher attachment. Okay. So we'll skip 35th verse. I think we should continue to 36 and 37. So this is now important section. Okay. So please pay attention to this section. Arjuna vacha athaken prayukto yam papam chariti purushah anichanapi varshneya baladeva niyojita. Arjuna said, O descendant of Rishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So yeah, who wants to read? Hina Mataji?
Please share the screen.
Achha, you don't have Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Yes.
Purport. A living entity, as part and parcel of the Supreme, is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse.
Hmm. So this is a very classic verse, basically. Like, this happens with us all the time. So now we will do a group, like maybe icebreaker activity where everybody has to think of one incident which happened in his life, and like which he knows that he's doing wrong and he did it, although he doesn't want to do it. So yes, so the proof of this that you didn't want to do it is that after doing that you felt guilty. So just take 2 minutes and think of one incident, and after 2 minutes we will share with each other. If there are any questions, let me know. I'll pause the recording here if it goes on.